Well, hello everyone, this is Jeff Clark with a unboxing video. It's been some time since I've done one, but I've been traveling a lot lately, and that's enabled me to get a few more models coming. And I have some that have been here for some time that I need to get unboxed very soon so I can take them out of the box and enjoy them. So today we're going to do this one here. And this model's from Collectible Jets, which is where I get quite a large number of my models from. Gotta be careful. Don't damage the sleeve. So as you can see, this is an Aer Lingus Airbus A330, and this is an Aviation Retail Direct model that I got from Collectible Jets. There is also a Gemini Jets version of the same aircraft with the new metal stand. I didn't realize that when I ordered this. So this Aviation Retail Direct or InFlight is a bit more expensive than that one, the Gemini is, but I'm not sure which one I would prefer to have. Gemini usually has a bit more of the tilting of the gears and some other lights and things like that, which I think are nice and an improvement over Aviation Retail Direct. This is going to be ARD2043 is the model number. So let's have a look at the box here. Nice shamrock there. So I've been able to fly the A330 from Dulles to Dublin, also from Chicago to Dublin, and then from Dublin to Boston. This is the aircraft that I flew on from Chicago to Dublin. That was October 1st of this year. And Aviation Retail Direct does have the nice plaque on the stand, which is definitely a bonus versus the Gemini, which does not. GC Wings used to have plaques, but now they're not having them so much. And it always comes with this cool little card in there. Oh, and this is Aviation Retail Direct, and this is removable gear. This is the first time I've seen a InFlight or Aviation Retail Direct model with removable gear, so that is awesome. That's one of the things I really like about the Gemini and the GC Wings is that they have this, and now it looks like InFlight's caught up. That is a huge bonus, and it looks like the gear also tilts, so that really is a huge factor for me in terms of the way this is going to look when it's all done. And the A330 is a really just awesome aircraft to be on. Here's the support for the stand. Let's have a look. Nice. Love those colors. InFlight does a really nice job with their models. See just a little bit of packing grease and stuff there. Other than that, it looks really nice and clean. Excellent. So Aer Lingus is the flag carrier of Ireland, and their headquarters are based in Dublin at the Dublin Airport, which is their main hub. They also have a hub in Shannon and then also one in Cork. And then they also have a sort of a temporary hub at Gatwick in London as well, where they fly routes into Europe from Gatwick, which is nice, doing some flying of the road instead of code sharing. They're part of IAG, which is the parent company of British Airways and also Iberia. They have a total of 58 aircraft in their fleet, including 5 of the A330-200s and 8 of the A330-300s. I flew on 2 of the 300s and 1 of the 200s in my traveling experiences. This is St. Ronan, and he was the founder of the region of Lacronan, excuse me. He was a pilgrim saint, so he's noted here. So if we start here on the L1 door, we have the nice detail of the mechanism to open the door. We have our brakes on the nose cone, which is always good to see. I like to see that on the models. It gives them plenty of extra detail. At St. Ronan, we've got our Anglo-Tac and pitot tubes here on the nose, and then static port here, and then numerous more static ports down here. So this forward section here is all first class. There are 30 first class seats, and there are 287 economy seats from here to the rest of the aircraft. Total of 317 seats. And they have some upgraded seats where you can sit further towards the front of the economy section. There is no choice seating. When you buy a ticket from Aer Lingus, you don't get to pick your seat. They assign you one unless you call the airline and say, I'll pay the extra money to have a window seat or an aisle seat or a seat further towards the front of the aircraft, which means that when you get to your destination, you get to get off before a lot of the other economy passengers. And generally this area is emptier because it has that premium, so oftentimes in the rear of the aircraft it's just packed out. And then up here, when I was actually on that trip, my seat was 21K, which is right here, and there was a lot of empty seats. And then after we took off, I moved out of my window seat and got 4 seats in the middle, so it was an overnight flight, so it allowed me to get some rest, which is cool. They used to be part of One World up until 2007 when they left that group, and but they still have some sort of shares with different airlines, including United, who I flew to Chicago to fly on this aircraft, and then also with JetBlue. So when I returned to Boston, I flew JetBlue to Las Vegas, which was my next stop. So we have some illumination lights here on the port side of this fuselage. The L2 door with its drip rail above. Here is the landing light on the wing. There's no exit walkway because there's no exit that would access the wing. Here's our L3 door and our L4. As I mentioned, the flag carrier of Ireland, so it's going to have the flag there. EI-EAV is the registration. Got the beautiful shamrock there on the tail. The paint work is really nice. Got our partial registration AV there on the tail. We have a intake for the auxiliary power unit, which exhausts out of this hole. And then there's a strobe light below that hole. Then under here we have the access doors for the auxiliary power unit, should it require servicing. I'm not sure what these doors are, but I'm guessing one of them could be an access to some other components in the tail, or maybe even a hatch to exit from some kind of portion of the aircraft, maybe the rear hold. Got a little scratch here on the bottom. Don't know if it comes up on the camera, maybe just a little bit. Yep, there we go. So it's gray painted area, pressure release valve, then numerous openings. Some of these are for the jacks and such that hold the aircraft up, or for access to AC packs and such. We've got the hole for the stand, and we don't have, these are the gear doors, so we have the option to put the door in here to make it appear as though the gear is stowed, and I'll probably just use the gear out like I usually do. I like to have the gear display because I think it looks really nice. Our knocket ducts and also areas for the air conditioning housing. This is our anti-collision beacon. We got a VHF antenna here, and then there's going to be numerous DME antennas, different air traffic control antennas and such here. Then we have the hole for the nose gear and the nose gear doors. Then this is a access hatch to the avionics bay, so if the pilots and such do need to exit the aircraft via this method, then they will, this door comes out and then a ladder will bring them to the ground. Another light. And then we have our nose. So let's take a look at the wings. So we got a nice work on the engines there. The Aer Lingus. This uses a blocker door type thrust reverser, so there's no markings for the pop out thrust reversers. We have, excuse me, the warning for do not walk outside of this area, which you can't really see with the naked eye, but you can if you kind of blow it up. And we've got our spoilers, flaps, flap track fairings, fuel dump valve, ailerons, and the wingtip device. It's always reassuring to see the shamrock out there when you're sitting by the window. On the 3 times that I was on this aircraft, I had a window seat on the right hand side of the aircraft, so I was able to take my trip report. So that's also on YouTube if you'd like to check it out. And I was pretty close to the wing each time, so I was able to look at that quite often. This is a lashing point for any mechanics who are working on top of the wing to attach a harness to. Take a look underside. And we got the registration again. Nice looking here at the hinges for the ailerons. Engine nacelle is done really nicely. This wing looks really good too. And the slats are kind of painted in a aluminum type of color so that they stand out a bit more. Let's look at the top of the aircraft. VHF antennas. Now this is the Wi-Fi box. On the Boeing aircraft, the typical set antenna, which you see here, is located here. And then they put their Wi-Fi box, which looks just like this, on the aft part of the aircraft. On the forward part of the aircraft. So this is the satellite antenna that the aircraft itself uses to communicate with the ground and for the engines to communicate. This is what the passengers and the crew use for their Wi-Fi access. So if you look at older pictures of this aircraft or other A330s before their Wi-Fi boxes, the only sat antenna you will see is this one. Then we have our traffic collision avoidance system. Lights. This is our anti-collision beacon. The VHF antennas. look really nice. They're not bent, which is the main thing. Really nice. There's just a little bit of packing grease on there, so it could use a little bit of a polish, but I think that's to be expected. Let's look at the other side of the aircraft. Got our St. Ronan again, although it says St. Ronan on this side and it says Ronan on that side. I wonder if that's an error or if that's actually on the aircraft. I'll have to take a look at some of the photos I took. A330-300 and our static ports here. This is the cargo loading door where all of those loading units go into. Nice work on the mechanism of the door there. Static ports. More illumination lights, these little silver spots there. L2 door. It'd be nice if they can have the dual landing lights here at some point. That would be a nice feature. Here is the rear loading door and bulk bin door, or hold number 5. Here is the registration and the Irish flag. You can really get a good view of the information that's on the door there. A lot of detail there. Horizontal stabilizer, tail illumination light, elevators, nice 3D cut there. The A330 is a really smooth aircraft to fly on. It's very quiet. Of course, I got my logbook signed. Well, let's put this on the stand and we'll see how she looks. Cool. The stand makes such a big difference to any model. I think that everybody should have some kind of model plate on there. I think it just makes makes the model stand out so much better. Let's try this gear here. Nice and flush there. This is all metal, except for the rubber on the tires. And they tilt, which is another cool advantage and change that InFlight has done. So I'm so happy that they're doing that, because they make really good models, but they were just lacking behind on that one aspect. And the gear tilting, and this is metal. The tires roll really nice. It's definitely a very quality piece. Oops. Probably wouldn't work very good. Here we go. Nose gear looks good. It also turns and it pivots. Excellent. Partial registration on the nose gear door there. Excellent. We don't have any dual lights in the nose gear. And I'm hoping that InFlight's going to catch up on that soon, because that's definitely an advantage of those other models. Very nice. So Aer Lingus was founded in 1936, and they had 2 aircraft, just one to begin with, and then 2, and then 4, and just a very limited number of routes. And during World War II, they basically almost ceased to do any operations at all, just because of everything that was going on at the time. But after World War II, they were able to sort of start to grow as an airline. And as I said, they were part of One World until 2007, but they do have those other agreements, which allows them to do their code shares and such. And they always run a 2-class configuration, A330 to the US, just business and economy, plus the more expensive standard economy seats like I talked about. They have basically been part of the Irish government, or Irish government was owned by them, or owned them up until IAG took over, even though they've had numerous takeover attempts by Ryanair. Ryanair is the largest aircraft or airliner in Ireland. Aer Lingus is number 2 behind them. They started doing their transatlantic flights in 1958, flying different aircraft up until they got their 720s and 707s, and eventually got 747s. So that was nice. In 1994, they started their A330 service to the US, and now they currently run an all Airbus fleet. I flew Aer Lingus 3 times on the A330, and then also once on the A321, which is pretty cool. So this Airbus A330 is serial number 985. It's an A330-302. Its first flight was on December 13th, 2008, and it was delivered on February 27th, 2009. It's running 2 GE CF6-80E1A4s, and they generate 66 to about 70,000 pounds of torque. So as I mentioned, St. Ronan is an Irish pilgrim saint, and the CF6, those same engines are also used on the 747 and the 767, so it's a very widely used engine. The A330 in general, 209 feet long. That is a very large aircraft. I mean, almost equivalent to the Boeing 777. Has a 197-foot wingspan, which is the same wingspan as the Boeing 777. Tail is 55 feet high. I think that's about 5 feet short of the 777. Maximum takeoff weight, 533,000 pounds. And it has a range of 6,350 nautical miles, which is still a very long way. I mean, the A330 is a workhorse of many, many airlines, and I've really enjoyed flying them. I've flown the Qantas version, I've flown this one, and a couple of others I can't think of right now. But yeah, this is a nice model. As I mentioned, there's the Gemini version as well, so that is currently available, but I think stocks are running very low, so if you want to pick that up, you better get right on it. I wasn't able to find any more of these when I searched for it yesterday, so I think I might have got there just in time, but I'm sure that the InFlight version is available there somewhere too. So let's look at these engines and see if we can spin these fans a little bit. And they don't really turn at all, which isn't a surprise for the InFlights, because they, I think, have some kind of different style of their fan. I think the way they do their fan is really nice, because they make sure that it's really, really accurate in terms of the fan blades and stuff like that. So I think that their plan is to make it look as accurate as possible, and if they don't spin, then that's fine with them. So I don't really spin them that much, other than when I do these unboxing videos, because I always worry about breaking them. So, but yeah, an overall really nice model. Just those little marks here on the gray paintwork that I saw, but pretty much unnoticeable in general. And because the model's going to be stored in this type of position, either on the stand or on the gear on the shelf, it will be invisible anyway. So, well, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this unboxing video, and stay tuned for plenty more. I've got a couple of the Boeing 747 British Airways liveries. I've got an Airbus A350 Delta that I flew from Seoul, Korea, back to the United States, so that's on its way, and I'll be unboxing it here pretty soon. So it was a pretty cool ride to be on as well. Well, thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time.